You have to buy one, get one. It's worth it. We had Gene had a fundraiser they could cancel, and they gave us a brick.
Oh. Done? Your mic's on. Is your mic on? All right.
I really saw the mask and breath, and I felt like I was the whole time too snap in my face. I made sure it was bigger than
PowerPoint working.
Yeah, but when I get all these different screens on my thing,
Slows down.
yeah, and it won't let me go to my slide. So I'm holding off. Tell me when I can start.
Got to get off of Facebook, YouTube, Amazon. Sheriff's here.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance and an invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, bless our community and the ones we love. Strengthen our faith. May we live with contentment and peace. Protect us spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Thank you, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's see, roll call. Here.
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 I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Brian. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of minutes, regular meeting October 6, 2020.
Second.
Roll call. Aye.
Brian. Aye.
Aye.
Fiscal officers report.
On the bank reports, our bank balances in the major account for the end of October, 3 million.
Sorry. Was $3,379,338.87. The HRA account had $33,994.52. The checking account, the credit card checking account, had $2,719.92. And the money market account had $1,193,683.90. The meter fund for the end of September, we don't have the latest one yet, was $8,229,048.78. On the monthly fund balances, the general fund stood at $2,297,581.60. The police fund was at $391,621.02. The fire was $250,323.15. The EMS fund was at $338,944.98. Safety service was at $1,986,728.35, and the park fund at $467,853.82. We received rollbacks in the last month totaling $308,180.65. And the Cincinnati Bell franchise fees were $12,497.72.
Is that it?
That's it.
Any questions? No? All right, moving on. Presentations, we don't have any. Public hearing, Kim, do I need to open that up or do you just, okay, I move to open the public hearing for the text amendments. We need to have a second or just gonna open it. All right, let me get out of the way. Okay, I'm sorry. I have my microphone on. I'll make sure I try to talk louder. Okay, so we are talking about tonight our proposed zoning text amendments. Just want to make it very clear to everyone that they're not the same as the property maintenance code. We had gotten a lot of comments from residents asking if they were the same thing, and especially they're not pursuing the Symmes Township property maintenance code at this time. And all the prior property maintenance limited topics that residents were in support of are all covered in the Symmes Township zoning code. So our maintenance code is not necessary. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. That's really hard with the math. Yeah, I know. All right. Is that right? Okay. All right. Under the zoning text amendments, through the administration of our zoning code, we've had a response to multiple nuisance complaints over the years, a pattern of common nuisance complaints, collective resident input, and input from our fire department. The following topics with our existing zoning code require updates.
Yeah, it's a different slide.
It is. Why is it doing that?
It jumped ahead.
Okay, my thing doesn't want to cooperate tonight. All right. Second, let me put all this other stuff down. Maybe he started over. No, not gonna do it. All right, let's do it this way. So the way it worked last time. All right, under the proposed zoning text amendments, so we're talking about sidewalks. We're talking about consistent setbacks for accessory uses and structures, residential parking standards, storage, parking of boats, campers, trailers, and RVs, signage for governments, churches, and nonprofit organizations, fence and wall requirements, and zoning permit expiration dates. So under the process, we held 2 work sessions to discuss proposed changes to the text of the zoning resolution on December 2nd, 2019, and again on February 19th, 2020. The Board of Trustees initiated that zoning text amendment on June 2nd, 2020, when they adopted Resolution G 2020-43. The Zoning Commission held 1 public hearing over 3 meeting nights at their July 15th, August 19th, and September 16th meetings to discuss the changes proposed. Ultimately, they recommended approval of the changes with revisions to certain sections. The Board of Trustees then scheduled a public hearing to discuss these changes for tonight, November 3rd, 2020. So on to the proposed revision number 1 for the sidewalk requirements. Under section 51.4 general provisions,
This is as recommended and revised by the zoning commission. So sidewalks shall be required in accordance with Hamilton County Engineer standards for all residential or commercial property along any major roadway or thoroughfare that has been identified for sidewalks according to the adopted sidewalks plan for Symmes Township. Such sidewalks shall be required to be installed at the time of development of a parcel as that term is defined in section 31.3-54 and shall extend the entire frontage of the parcel or parcels being developed. So as I go through my slide, you'll see that everything that is typed is what we started with. And if it has a score through it, that means that the zoning commission changed it at the zoning commission meeting. This is their recommended changes. So anything that has an underline underneath it, that is what they recommended, the language that we go through, and they recommended that we cross out certain words. Under the second proposed revision, number 2, general fence maintenance standards, you can see that the word fence was added. So section 51.5 general provisions as revised and recommended by the zoning commission. So you can see a fair amount of this section was recommended that we take it out and that we replace it with certain language at the bottom. So the way we're going to proposing it tonight is any fence / wall, because we actually need wall in there too. In any district shall be maintained and kept in good condition and good repair, including repairing or replacing damaged or deteriorated sections and maintaining the orientation of the fence or wall in an upright position such that the fence does not sag or lean. In no case is allowed to hang over an adjacent property or public right of way. So again, you can see some of the language was removed and then some of it was recommended replacement. Here's some examples of some fences that we've gotten some complaints on. Under proposed revision number 3, setbacks, section 62.14-3 AA residence district, 66.143A residence district, section 70.14-3A2 residence district, 74.14-3B residence district, 78.14-3B2 residence district, and 82.14C residence district. And this was as proposed by the township and recommended approval by the zoning commission. So compost piles or bins on lots as provided in section 53, which are located in a rear yard and at least 5 feet from every property line. So for every one of those sections I just read, there is a section in there that says 3 feet, and we're proposing to take it to 5 to make all of the setbacks consistent. Proposed revision number 4, residential parking. Section 143.3, residential parking as recommended and approved by the zoning commission. So you can see here too, where we had text and some of it was deleted by the zoning commission and they added their own text. So basically, on any residentially used parcel or residence district other than O and E, residence districts, no off-street parking area, maneuvering area for parking spaces, or loading area shall be located with any required front yard. This restriction shall not apply to driveways providing access from the street to the parking area or to a required parking area serving a detached dwelling. All driveways and parking areas must be surfaced with asphalt, Portland cement, or block paver stones, providing an all-weather, durable, and dustless surface. This requirement shall apply to the first 200 feet of the driveway as measured from the edge of pavement of a public or private street. All parking areas must comply with the drainage requirements of the Hamilton County Stormwater and Infrastructure Division. Within 10 feet of the right-of-way, the max width of the driveway shall be 24 feet in a single-family or multi-housing planned manufacturing home park district. No residential parking area or garage shall be utilized for more than one commercial vehicle owned or normally operated by a resident of the premises, and such vehicles shall not exceed 1 1/2 tons capacity. No commercial vehicles or trailers shall be permitted to park on any public street. On proposed revision number 5, parking of recreation items, section 143.4, parking of boat, trailer, campers, RV or mobile home, as proposed by the township and approved by and recommended by the zoning commission. In any residence district other than an O and E residence districts, placing of a boat, trailer, camper, RV, or other mobile home shall be prohibited except that outside the floodplain area, one trailer as defined in section 31.3-22 or 221, or one boat may be parked or stored in a garage or other accessory structure or rear yard in any residence district. No occupancy for human habitation shall be maintained or business conducted therein while such trailer boat is parked or stored. The wheels or other similar transporting devices of such trailer permitted within any residential district shall not be removed, nor shall any trailer be temporarily or permanently affixed to the ground or attached to something having a temporary or permanent location on the ground. No boats, trailers, campers, or RVs shall be permitted to park on any public street. Here's some examples of pictures that we've taken of nuisance complaints that we've gotten about trailers in the driveway. And you can see on the right, there's a boat in the street right now in Somerset. Proposed revision number 6, setbacks, section 171.7, additional use, height, and area regulations and exceptions, as proposed by the township and approved and recommended by the zoning commission. Accessory buildings which are not part of the main building shall be built in the rear yard and not less than 5 feet from the rear and side lot lines. An accessory building which is not part of the main building shall not occupy more than 30% of the required rear yard and shall be located not less than 60 feet from any front lot line. Proposed revision number 7, zoning certificates, section 191, zoning certificates. This again is approved by the township and approved and recommended by the zoning commission. Except as provided in Article 5, no building, structure, or sign shall hereafter be located, constructed, reconstructed, enlarged, or structurally altered, nor shall any work be started upon same until a zoning certificate for same has been issued by the Symmes Township zoning inspector, which certificate shall state that the proposed building, structure, and use comply with all the provisions of this resolution. The zoning certificate shall only be valid for 1 year after the date of issuance. Proposed revision number 8, signs, section 319, signs for residence districts other than the O and E districts as proposed by the township and approved and recommended by the zoning commission. 319, variable message centers. The following restrictions shall apply to variable message center signs within the residence districts that identify churches, nonprofit organizations, swim clubs, tennis clubs, schools, parks, golf courses, public buildings, and other similar permitted uses. 1 variable message center sign may be constructed per lot or compound as a part of the square footage permitted in the freestanding ground mounted sign. All variable message center signs shall conform to the following requirements. No part of the variable message sign shall be closer than 10 feet to any right-of-way line. No part of any variable message sign shall be closer than 10 feet to any adjacent property line. Any variable message sign shall conform to all the height and area requirements applicable to freestanding ground-mounted sign of which they are a part. Maximum sign area permitted for use as a variable message sign is limited to 25% of the total sign area permitted on the freestanding ground-mounted sign, max 2 sides. Functional limits and parameters on time of day and temperature displays may be in 5-second intervals. No other message, graphic, or display shall not be moving, flashing, scintillating, animating, nor changing in color or light intensity or variable changing in any other manner. The display change interval, which is defined at the time period between one message, graphic, or display becomes illegible and the next message, graphic, or display just reaches legibility, shall be 0.3 seconds or less. Proposed revision number 9 under play devices, section 342.5, play devices in rear yards, as proposed by the township and approved and recommended by the zoning commission. play devices in rear yards, swing sets, jungle gyms, tree houses, and other play devices excluding those accessory uses specified in section 351 shall be located in the rear yard and must maintain a minimum setback of 5 feet from every property line. Revision number 10, fences and walls, section 346, fences and walls as revised by the zoning commission. The restrictions set forth below shall apply to all fences and walls located in all districts except for fences and walls surrounding public utility structures or radio, television, or microwave transmissions or relay towers. All fences must be set back 5 feet from all fire hydrants. And that's what I have. Does the board have any questions, comments, concerns, questions of me or Brian?
Can you go back to 6? Go back one more. That one.
That's 5.
Okay, that's where I went. Fourth line up from the bottom. Nor shall any trailer by temporarily, should that be temporarily or permanently fixed instead of by?
Oh, you're right. It should be.
Anything else?
That's all I caught going through it.
Anybody else have any?
I just want to make a comment real quick about this. I don't think this is not intended for people that are like getting their trailers ready, their RVs ready for vacation or something. I just want to make sure that people understand that if people are loading or unloading from a trip, it's not intended for that.
Right. Hey,
Right.
Brian, do we have anything in our code that allows for the unloading, loading?
I don't believe so. It's up to the zoning inspector to work with the property owner. It's similar to what the Hamilton County zoning resolution has.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. We're going to discuss it and then we'll open it up, okay?
Kim, can you go to revision number 1, please? So I just wanted to point out, I believe the township and the zoning commission had major roadway, but we wanted to add the further definition that what we're talking about is state and county roadways, not township roads. So if we have a residential development or commercial development that fronts a state or county roadway, we want to have the option of a sidewalk there.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Number 2. This whole section was removed because it is predominantly already covered in our nuisance resolution. So we do not need to double up on weeds, brush, landscaping, grass, fallen trees, trash, junk, and debris. It's already covered in our nuisance resolution. So we don't want confusion by double coverage. So it's all stricken. Next one, please. By the way, I'm sorry, go up one. This particular fence is surrounding a swimming pool. And part of our frustration with not having fences as part of Symmes Township, fences around a swimming pool are covered by state law, but we can't get anybody to enforce it. And we have issues like this one where kids are prying through that fence. And that's, as you all know, that's a big no-no. So but we don't have the authority to do anything about it. We're supposed to call somebody in the state of Ohio, but when we do make those phone calls, nobody picks up the phone or nobody responds. So this gives us the opportunity to actually talk to the property owner and come up with a resolution. Okay, I'm sorry. Next slide. Not setbacks. Go to number 4, please. Residential parking. Okay. Jody and Ken, I would like to propose a further change to this. And we have talked about this in the past. The sentence that starts with all and goes to street. I would like to strike that entire sentence and instead replace it with all new driveways will include a paved, non-gravel, non-dirt apron. Period.
Nothing to do with right of way.
Well, the apron is in the right of way. That is really what Symmes Township is most concerned about. If you have a gravel driveway, that's great, as long as it's well maintained. We don't want the gravel coming out on the township road or the county road, or et cetera. So we want the gravel staying put on the driveway, and that can easily be accommodated with a non-dirt, non-gravel apron within that right of way.
Because it's a matter of safety.
Correct.
Yes.
So am I taking out and like where I am right now on my cursor?
Starting with the word all.
Well, she's trying to correct it.
Well, I
She
put
got
new
it.
in there, all new driveways, and then
Oh,
it's,
I'm sorry.
then the rest, right?
Wow.
All the
new
way,
driveways will include, if you're typing that, a paved, and then in parentheses, non-gravel, non-dirt, end of parentheses, apron.
non-dirt. Apron,
Yes,
okay.
period. And then from where your cursor is
To here,
to there, yep. Stricken.
So the 200 foot goes away,
Correct.
which is good.
We don't need it.
But do we define the extent of the apron as right away or 8 foot or anything like that?
We can, sure.
Sure.
The intent is the right of way, so maybe we just spell that out.
I think apron needs to be defined.
Include a paved, non-gravel, non-dirt apron within the right of way. Is that okay?
within the right of way, okay.
Within the right of way.
Yeah.
Okay, even better.
Yeah, if the right of way is less than 8 feet, then the apron can be less than 8 feet.
You're right.
Okay, I like that.
What
Okay.
about private drives? They're not in the right of way.
Then how would you define that, Kim?
I don't know, because typically they won't have an apron, they'll just have a paved, usually it's asphalt.
But they have to abut a township road, correct? Or a county road?
So there has to be.
The
right?
entrance of the private drive does, but like say in a lot of these subdivisions,
Mhm.
we may have 5 lots that are at the end of a public street, but they're on a private drive that goes back.
So does right of way cover that or not?
Well, how big
No,
is
it
right away?
wouldn't.
Can't we just?
That's
make
what
it
I
the same
mean.
as
So
just
another
50?
perfect
Isn't
example.
part of the private
It's
driveway
already
got
set
right away?
on the property.
Oh, so it can, it
No.
changes.
If they're-
It
None?
changes.
Just the
I'm
part that
thinking of
touches the right of way.
panhandle- I'm thinking of panhandle lots off the cul-de-sac and so on. There has to be some kind of right of way.
Where's Brian, what's that new neighborhood that's down off Loveland Madeira where it's all private?
Not sure.
Is that Lakeside?
And that's a paved road.
But it's private.
Okay,
But
but
there's
it's
got to
paved,
be right of way.
It's
at
not
the-
gravel.
The intersection of
so it's not an
that
issue.
private drive and the highway.
Right, so the only part of that private road that touches right of way would be at Loveland Madeira. But what
Correct.
I'm saying is the driveways themselves for each of those lots would not touch any right of way.
Gotcha.
Because it's not, but it's a private drive, right?
So.
So why do
But
we?
they're
So do
far
we
enough
not-
away.
From the
so-
main
so we're
road.
not gonna get, if it were gravel, we're not gonna get gravel on our major roads.
True, okay,
Okay, so
Got
I
it.
don't see that it's a big issue.
Okay.
okay.
And that's, just checking.
Are you and Ken and Jody, are you okay with me striking
Yeah,
all that?
yeah,
Okay,
Absolutely. Are you okay with that, Ken?
Yeah, I think so. And I think where your pointer is, Tim,
okay,
I think you put a period there and delete.
The rest?
I think that's what Phil was saying earlier.
yeah, I've got a strike through on it.
Okay.
Okay,
That concludes my comments.
okay. Ken, do you have any comments?
No.
All right. Joe, do you have any comments? Brian, do you have anything additional you'd like to add?
Nope.
Okay. I guess at this time, we'll open it up to comments. So please come up, state your name and your address, and can you come on up?
You gotta,
Come on, Mark.
You talked about a lot of things drop on 51.2 or 51.5, I'm sorry. I don't know that that section was read, was it?
Which one?
I couldn't see it from back there, and I don't have a copy of what you're looking at. Right there.
yep, it's all struck, all, the whole middle of it is, it's all gone.
I got that. So it talks about walls and fences.
Yep,
Mhm.
They need to be upright.
Okay.
We want to
I
keep
couldn't see
everybody
it from
safe.
I
That's
couldn't
our
see it from
goal.
Back here, I know that it was pretty lengthy at one point.
That's why we're trying to do this. We want to keep people safe. Anyone else?
CJ Carr, 10403 Willow Drive. So kind of just to clarify, all the structures, the general maintenance code section's been taken out. Walls has been added with fence in that section is the only change that's been made because walls are new. What is the driveway section? I couldn't keep up with it and I couldn't read the,
You want to go back to that?
yeah, I know we said, what came up was drainage
five.
and residential parking.
No, sorry.
Something about a driveway. You were reading driveway section, of driveways had to be
Oh,
so
it's number,
wide
yeah.
this is it.
Four. Yep,
Resident.
you're right. Number
within
4.
10 feet of the
Can
maximum
you read
width.
it?
Yeah, so the way it reads now would be all or on any residentially used parcel or residence district other than O or E residence district. No off-street parking area, maneuvering area for parking spaces, or loading area shall be located within any required front yard. This restriction shall not apply to driveways providing access from the street to the parking area or to a required parking area serving a detached dwelling. All new driveways will include a a paved, non-gravel, non-dirt apron within the right-of-way. All parking areas must comply with the drainage requirements of the Hamilton County Stormwater and Infrastructure Division. And then within 10 feet of the right-of-way, the max width of the driveway shall be 24 feet in a single family or manufactured home park district. No residential parking area or garage shall be utilized for more than one commercial vehicle owned or normally operated by a resident of the premises, and such vehicle should not exceed 1.5 tons capacity. No commercial vehicles or trailers shall be permitted to park on any public street.
I heard about the drainage thing and I know that was brought up earlier. And this is quite different from what's on the website to look at too. So prior to the meeting to be able to look at it. Later in the meeting, there is a resolution 2020-92. What is the wording in that? Is that getting changed? We've had
You're
These
talking
shoes
about the
will-
resolution to approve
The
the zoning?
resolution to approve this later
Text
in new
amendment.
business in a meeting.
So
Yeah.
this is an attachment to the resolution.
I'll change it. So whatever they tell me they want to approve, then I will have to go back and change it to the language that they approve.
Okay, because I know, Mr. Beck, you know that in previous meetings where we've had resolutions that have been written up, the changes haven't been made. And then we have to go back and change them later at a later meeting, like our facilities agreement. And this document's already been pre-written before the meeting as to what resolution 92 is, just to make sure all the changes get in it and we're not, back and forth again going, well, it should have been.
So what's
according to this.
Right. So what's important is when we vote, we haven't voted yet.
Right.
When we vote including, we incorporate the edits that we made during the meeting.
And then they go into resolution now.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mark McWillan, 9355 McKinney Road. I'm very appreciative of the clarity that the 51.5 was not the PMC. And as had been discussed, the PMC was dead, put to bed, however you want to phrase it. I, however, have a principal issue. The PMC was made dead, and then within a year, the trustees proposed excerpts out of the PMC just within about a year. And I really feel that going that way, and obviously the number of people agree, that it's a Pandora's box. Because once you open that, anything can easily be thrown in there, changed, and so on.
It's a living document. What exactly are you talking about? Because all we're talking about here is sidewalks, setbacks, residential parking,
Okay.
storage, parking of boats, campers, trailers, RVs, signage, fence and wall, and zoning permit expiration.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood.
That's all we're talking about here.
Let me ask the question this way. From the original resolution, is that not what the trustee submitted to the county?
Yeah, this whole thing is a process. So there's,
I get that.
there are public hearings,
Okay.
there's a draft
My-
version, it
my-
goes to the zoning commission, then it comes back and then it gets tweaked.
I understand.
When we were at our property maintenance meeting, things were suggested that we put it in text amendments. So we listened to the residents. We moved towards the text amendments. We put things in the text amendments. You work through it, and this is our final resolution.
I sat through, I thought, most all of the meetings, and I never heard that as a proposal.
It was proposed, I can, yep.
I'll go back and view it.
Okay, please go back and review it, because it was suggested that we place these in text amendments, because
Okay.
at the time, residents understood that there were problems in the township that needed to be addressed, and these were the problems that needed to be addressed. And so we went this route that was suggested to us. So Mark, please go back and review the tape.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
But I'm going to talk about that you guys at whatever point wrote the resolution knowing that the majority, you agreed with the majority of the population was opposed to the type of legislation that was the PMC. PMC's dead.
I don't know what,
I'm talking
don't know
about
what
the
you're
type
talking
of
about.
legislation that the property maintenance code was.
The majority of the population,
not
there was
talking about
like
property
less
maintenance.
than 40 people here that day.
Okay.
Okay, so
So-
there's no majority of the population of Symmes Township, Mark.
Okay,
We were just
I'm-
doing,
I'll speak.
okay,
I don't want to go back and read through the whole entire thing because a number of questions were answered. I'm gonna give you a short review, and this goes to the property maintenance code. You and Mr. Beck voted to hold a workshop on the property maintenance code. Only 3 complaints were logged in 2015, and that's when it was 4/17/2015.
why are we talking about property maintenance code, Mark?
May I?
If you get to it, sure. I'm not going to go on and on and on about a property maintenance code that's dead.
Because this isn't a
This is
property
it.
maintenance code. This is text amendment.
Do you have an issue with any of these items that we're talking about tonight? Because this is what we're voting on.
I have an issue with part of the process. And that it,
The process is the process. We don't set the process. We just adhere to the process.
okay,
I mean, we don't make the process.
I guess my point is, the majority of the residents, and I'll just,
Majority of Symmes Township or majority of what residents? Mark?
I'll read this and just explain the numbers. In November 2018, the township website, so nine folks in emails opposed to the PMC and 37 for it. In the first week of February, the numbers were 157 opposed to the
But this
PMC.
is not property maintenance.
Please don't interrupt me again.
But it does-
We're here to talk about this, Mark.
And that's exactly
Okay.
what I'm talking
This
about.
public comment is to talk about this zoning, okay? Not the property maintenance code that
Okay.
is no longer.
I'll make-
Anybody that talks about a property maintenance code at this point moving forward is basically creating confusion for the residents.
Okay.
Which is
I will explain
not
it.
fair,
I will explain it
okay?
this way.
That's not fair.
It was made very clear during that process that the majority of the population was opposed to that type of legislation.
Correct. That's why it's
Okay.
voted down.
And that was put away. We're now bringing it forward in a different, we put lipstick on a pig and pretend
No,
like it's
that is
something
not
else.
accurate. That is a false statement. You're
Okay.
making misinformation and you're confusing the public. You're on tape. Everybody can see this.
would-
This is what we're talking about.
And
Okay.
it's text
It's
amendment.
not confusing. It's
It's-
very simple and straightforward.
It's addressing
What I'm
problems
telling
that
you-
we have in the township. That's all it's
What I'm
doing.
telling
We're
you
trying
is-
to make it easier for the township to help people that have fences that are falling over so children aren't dying in pools.
No problem.
We're trying, that's what we're trying to do here. That's all we're trying to do. There were statements made that people realize there's problems in the township that need to be addressed.
That's fine.
Okay, and that's all we're trying to do is help the people that need help.
Okay. So I'm going to make a point, please don't interrupt. That 51.5 talks about weeds and grass cutting on a regular basis. That's very vague. I'm shocked that you guys allowed that to go even in front of the Hamilton County zoning people to say, that's a bad idea.
That's why it's cut out.
Okay, well, my whole point is, I'm
It's a
shocked that you guys
process,
set
Mark.
that down originally.
It's
That's
a
why that-
process.
We're already covered. We don't need to duplicate. We already talked about that tonight. Any further discussion about a property maintenance code is fueling conspiracy. I'll just say that right here and now. Fueling conspiracy. If you continue to talk about property maintenance code and put that out there in the public and, oh, it's still a thing, it's still a thing. That is conspiracy.
Still, the whole point is the comparison between what the property maintenance code was proposing and the proposal that you sent to Hamilton County.
Mark,
That's what.
as we said, this is a process, okay? It goes through a process, it gets whittled down. When we had a discussion with property maintenance, at that time, we listened to the residents. At that meeting, residents suggested and made statements. Go back and listen to the tape, that we should put this in our text amendments instead of having a property code, because they realized that we had problems in the township. So that's all we did. And then we let it go through the process, and this is what we have.
Okay.
So this is what we're approving as trustees, and that's it.
So there was no, let me ask the question of this, of you three. So there was no consideration of 55 or 51.5 in regards to the weeds and the other things that have all been taken out. You guys didn't even consider that was a bad idea at the time, is my point. That's going directly
It's-
into the type of legislation the people of the township don't want. Thank you.
It's a duplication and it's cut out.
So why'd you send it? If it was a
It was
duplication,
verified.
how was a duplication
It was
then?
verified as a duplication and it's now cut out.
Any other
Anybody else?
comments?
My name is Eric Deal, 10072 Lincoln Road, Camp Dennison. Questions only quickly, as far as for the fences and also the outbuildings, for the existing, do they have to meet the setback rules?
Brian?
Any of them that are already there are grandfathered. The issue is that all accessory buildings were already required to be 5 feet from the property lines. There were errors in the code where some were called out for 3 feet and others were called out for 5 feet. We've required 5 feet for as long as I can remember. So there shouldn't be any newly built accessory structures that are 3 feet from the property line anywhere in the township.
Okay, new, yeah, so one that's very old,
Those
it's
are all
okay as long
grandfathered
as
in,
it's there.
right? Nobody
Okay.
has to move it
Unless
to
they go
comply.
before the BZA.
Well, no, they're all grandfathered in. They can all stay exactly as they
No, I'm
are
saying
unless
new.
they're modified or built new.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone
So
else?
anything new could go before the BZA.
Yes, true. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Evening, Board. Mike Howell, 7810 Clement. I think that this whole process, the whole zoning amendment is a small dwindling away of property rights of everybody that lives in, has an ownership of a property in the Symmes Township. It's Symmes Township in Hamilton County is one of the most expensive places in the area to build a house. This is only going to add to that cost. It's going to add to the cost to live in this township. These are times when things are a little tight for people, and this is just adding on to that. The issue with the gravel along the roads, that I was wondering if the township, next time the roads are paved in Camp Dennison, if they're going to widen the roads to include the areas over the gravel berms that they put down last time the roads were paved, to cover up so that gravel's not thrown up on the road if we're concerned about gravel in the roadway. One thing I don't think you're considering is in Camp Dennison, I know the roads don't run right down the middles of the right of way. It could be offset one way or another. The road might be offset enough that somebody on one side might not have anything to pave. The road might be right up against their property line, where on the other side, there's quite a bit of distance between the actual pavement and their property line. I think of all I don't think there's anything here that is of critical nature. We've tried to press this or have this continued on where COVID is not an issue. I think we'd have a better turnout, but we are where we are right now. But I don't think there's anything in here of an emergency nature. I think there are some items in here that could be addressed and need to be addressed, with fences around pools and areas where people need to be kept out. But beyond that, I don't think gravel driveways is an issue. I don't think the parking along the roadways is an issue. I don't think unless you can cite me something where somebody's been injured, hurt, or there's been a complaint, or not a complaint, but hurt, or there's been an issue with gravel in the roadway from a gravel driveway, or vehicles parked along the roadway where that issue would be. Somebody's been injured in some way. I've never heard of anything. I think if we can do this to residents, I think we met down at the schoolhouse, and I asked about agricultural property. We live across the street from a horse barn where they're continually doing things that the other day they had a big wedding over there. They had a big PA system, lots of music. It wasn't too bad. It's the first time I've heard them do that. But, you know, as far as agricultural, where does it draw the line? I think if we can address something and tighten something down where you've got a big agricultural business right in the middle of a residential community, there should be some restrictions on what they can do. There's dust all the time. There's no grass growing. When the wind was blowing the other day, it was more of a dust storm over there than it was leaves blowing around. The smell of horse manure where they spread it all over their paddocks. People drive around over there real fast, and when it's dry weather where you have a lot of dust, I think if we can do this to residential, we could do it to an agricultural too, and tighten them down where we're not having issues in Camp Dennison like that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Carol Symmes. I live at 9972 Washington Street. I just have a couple concerns, some confusion and stuff. As stated, the zoning commission continued the public hearing 2 times. And they actually took the vote at the September meeting. There were members who missed some of the other public hearings. And based on a statement made by Brian Snyder, when he questioned if they had reviewed, if they were up to speed and up to date on what had happened at the meetings they missed, and they said yes, it was determined that they could take action. And I guess I would like to know from the township law director, is that appropriate action, that they could do that?
Yes.
Okay. So on the sidewalks, originally Hamilton County expressed concern regarding not only the enforcement with the proposed language that was initiated by the board, but Hamilton County noted that the sidewalk requirements fall under the county's subdivision regulations. So I'm questioning, why do we want to include that in our zoning code when it's regulated by Hamilton County? Plus, you already have a resolution in the books that deal with sidewalks and subdivisions. No answer? Fine.
Brian,
Okay.
you want to take that?
Oh, yes, I do have an answer. It's covered by the Hamilton County subdivision rules and regulations. It only applies to properties that are being subdivided. And so properties that are not being subdivided, like new construction on a county road or a new retail development on a state route, those aren't covered by anything. And sidewalks would not be required there unless they would be included in the zoning resolution. This is something that numerous other townships throughout Hamilton County have done, including Coleraine and Anderson Township.
Did you say that they don't require it on state routes? And that's why we're including our zoning
The
code?
subdivision rules and regulations only apply to subdivisions. If you're not no, actually I won't. Subdivisions are splitting of property. If you're not splitting property, the subdivision rules and regulations don't apply.
Okay, but you did mention state routes, state roads. What was that referencing to?
Anything other than a subdivision street where a subdivision is occurring.
Okay, so, but the township's only going to adopt, you modified it that it only applies to township streets?
It
Correct.
says state routes
No.
and
County.
county
You're
roads.
including county and state routes as well as township streets in your amendment that you made? Because I thought you mentioned that it would only be township streets that you were going to.
No, I think actually the way it's written, it's the opposite of what
Yeah.
you just said.
He said the opposite.
It's county and state,
So it covers county and state road.
correct?
Okay. And I know you don't want to talk about the general maintenance and the property maintenance code and all that stuff, but I do have a question, Mr. Beck, because you just made the statement that it's already included in the nuisance resolution and therefore it could be eliminated. And I guess I agree with Mark, is if this is something that you really didn't want to be adopted, within the text amendment, why include it?
It was found and it was stricken. It's
It was-
there's
but
no
you
like
actually-
magic answer to what
Right,
you're
but you
asking.
actually initiated this zone text amendment that included this. And if there had not been any objections to it, would it still be in this?
No, because of this process that Jody described. So we
Okay.
have multiple checks and balances. Tonight is the last one in the process.
Okay.
And we've still found things
Okay.
that need to be tweaked.
Excellent. So the fenced section that's left in this new section, because it is a brand new section, why is that fence section not, this fence wording, not being put into the fence section? Instead of having this in the general 51 section of your zoning code, why is it not included within the fence section? But if somebody was looking to see how fences were regulated, you would go to fences. You wouldn't be going to the general requirements, which is 51. So you might want to consider putting that. And I think even at the zoning commission meeting, it was mentioned that they wanted it moved to the fence section, but I didn't go back and read the tape on
Okay.
that.
Brian or Tim,
Brian.
can you respond to
Yeah.
that?
Guess it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. And they didn't say that. The zoning commission didn't say that. It was mentioned by residents to them. I think Carol and CJ both suggested that they move it to the fence section, but they didn't actually act to make that recommendation. So it wasn't
They-
recommended that way.
They didn't make the recommendation, but I think one or two said, oh, that's, yeah, okay,
Possibly, right?
right.
Well, Let's
So,
talk about that real quick. Doesn't make sense to do that.
Kim? She has a point. I mean, it would be good to, if you go to section 346, if they're both contained together, then it probably makes it easier for, you know, for the,
So, thank you, Mike. Can we, I'll wait.
we can
One
just
second.
move it.
Can we simply cut and paste
Yeah, just move it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just move
revision
it.
number 2? Cut and paste.
We would have to rename it, like it can't be, what was it?
fences, walls.
It would no longer be 51.5. We would have to move it down to 346. And then we could, trying to think what else is in that section.
346?
So proposed revision 10. Go to 10.
We're putting it under 346.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Suggestions,
That makes it better.
welcome.
Okay, as to the driveways, you initiated as saying new. Zoning commission recommended all. You're now going back to new driveways.
Yes.
So the existing gravel driveways now are considered to be grandfathered. Is that right, Brian?
Which driveways?
The gravel
Gravel
driveways that
driveways.
exist throughout the township.
Well, it's interesting. There's a different section of the code that says that all required parking spaces have to be accessed by a paved surface that we have interpreted to mean that you have to pave all your driveways that lead to your required parking spaces on your single-family lots. This change would eliminate that, eliminate us from doing that. So now where we've been requiring all your driveways and single-family subdivisions to be paved up to your garage, they would no longer be required to be paved, only the apron out at the street. So this would allow gravel driveways where they currently haven't been allowed. This would be a lessening of the current requirement.
But what you're
Very much
talking
of a
about,
lessening.
you're talking about new, but you're talking about existing. So
But
the
he brings up a
existing
good point
would be
that a new
grandfathered.
driveway can have a concrete paved apron 200 feet and then the rest can be gravel.
No,
Not
no,
200
not-
feet.
not
It's only in the
200 feet
right of
anyway.
way,
Just in the right of way?
Yeah.
Just right
where
away.
it touches the street.
Okay. But you still have gravel driveways that are totally gravelled, even at the section of
Existing.
the right of way.
Oh,
The
yes, they would be grandfathered
They would
unless
be
you paved it
grandfathered.
again.
So how
Right.
are you going to compile a list of what's grandfathered so that you know who's in compliance and what's non-conforming and all that kind of stuff? Would you not need to track that to make sure that somebody doesn't sneak in a gravel driveway and doesn't do what they're supposed to
Well,
do.
we'll see that with the new building permits.
Because that was a concern that Hamilton County again said that that's going to create problems having to track all the grandfathered driveways.
That's in the, like Phil said, is.
I mean,
is
that's,
that-
that's something that'll have to happen. If the trustees approve it, we'll have to deal with it and we'll come up with a plan for enforcing it. And the building permit wouldn't be a problem. We would look for it on the building, on the zoning certificate application before it gets a building permit. But she's talking about the existing gravel driveways where if somebody wants to add a new driveway to their property, they don't need a permit for that. You only need a permit when you're getting a building permit for something else. So if you're just adding a gravel driveway to a house that's already there, there is no building permit. We never see it. So we wouldn't be able to tell them that they had to pave the apron, just like we're not able currently to tell them that they have to pave the driveway. It's really no different than the current situation where people want to sneak in a gravel driveway and then come back and tell us that it's been there forever. We would go back and review old aerial photos. We would do the same thing that we do currently for the same situation.
So that's how you would track whether they were
Generally,
grandfathered
yes,
or not.
correct.
Okay. Parking in the right of way. This has always been an issue because statements always been made that zoning doesn't regulate right of ways. But yet we are regulating right of ways and allowing no parking within township streets.
So I stated this at the zoning commission multiple times. I've always heard that from zoning professionals, even from attorneys. I was curious about that at previous times in my employment and asked if there was a specific section of the ORC or a specific case law that applied to that. And I've never heard from any other zoning professional or attorney that there is such a thing. In fact, at the October American Planning Association State of Ohio conference, it was actually said that multiple jurisdictions around the state of Ohio are already regulating the parking of boats, RVs, and various other construction type vehicles in the right of way. So it's being done in other townships and municipalities all around the state of Ohio. Apparently, that was one of the sessions that was at the most recent conference. So
And can I just make a comment on that? The reason why I'm interested in this, Carol, is because if you drive down a street with boats and RVs parked fairly regularly, what happens if a child's ball goes out and you have the large RVs or the larger boats, you can't see it. So I want to protect families and children. So that's why I'm interested in having boats and RVs not parked on a street, because you're living in a community and kids do run across the street, dogs run across the street, and I just want to keep everybody safe.
So Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission advised at their meeting that this does not belong within the zoning code. And the statement was made that enforcement of this is questionable since zoning cannot regulate a public right-of-way and therefore may not be legally defensible through zoning. So you're saying that, no, you can, but your Hamilton County Regional that heard the text amendment says, nope, you can't have it. So how come you guys are not on the same page?
I wrote that report and I explained to you what I had always been told, and I said it at the zoning commission meeting. I actually said it at the regional planning commission meeting. I don't know if you have a transcript from the meeting because the minutes are not inclusive of everything that was said
No, but
at those because it's not a transcript.
correct.
And that's always been discussed. Everybody that was on the planning commission that has ever heard about it said the same thing. They've always heard that you're not allowed to regulate zoning in the right of way. But
Correct.
again, nobody could provide an actual section where it says that. And like I said, there are numerous, like multiple jurisdictions, including townships across the state of Ohio that are already doing this. So it's not legal, it's not illegal, which was my concern. Basically, what I was saying in my report was that the law director should look into this because it's always been my understanding that it's illegal. But now, obviously, I've heard differently from both attorneys and from the State Planning Association that it's not.
So has you asked your township law director to give you an opinion whether or not this can be within our zoning code before you adopt it and maybe make us subject to lawsuits?
Brian's our expert, Carol.
You have a township law director who should give you an opinion. He's given the opinion of what he's heard, what he believes, what other townships are doing. But you have a township law director who should be able to give you an opinion as to what section of the Ohio Revised Code allows you to do this action. Because if you look at section 519, which is township zoning, there's nothing mentioned about right-of-ways.
It's my understanding that the previous law director did look at the text amendments when they were initiated, and I spoke to him, and so did Kim, and it was his recommendation that there was nothing wrong with them. If
Under
I'm
what
wrong with
section?
that, Kim, though, correct me. I've had this conversation with several law directors in different townships. Is that right? Did the previous law director look at the text amendments?
Yeah, and Kevin, he didn't have any problem with it, and I know Jeff's reviewed it. He didn't mention that there would be a problem with it.
So under what section of the Ohio Revised Code is permitting the township to do this?
I don't
There's
have
n-
a specific reference to any section. I haven't reviewed that specific question. I can look back at the file and see if Kevin did that. I wasn't asked to.
There's not a section of the Ohio Revised Code that says anything about it.
Says you can't.
Like there's not a section of the Ohio Revised Code that says anything about retail buildings specifically being regulated or parking lots specifically being regulated.
Right.
I mean, almost 90% of what's in the zoning code isn't actually called out as being able to be regulated by the Ohio Revised Code. Doesn't mean it's illegal, though.
Well, you know, it's true that the Hamilton County Regional Planning does not have minutes, but they do have comments. And one of the there was
Well,
three
no, they do have
comments,
minutes. I think that's what you're looking at is the minutes.
proceedings, whatever, regular proceedings.
Right.
There were three comments that they made. And one dealt with the fact that sidewalks don't belong in zoning, that you can't regulate right-of-ways, public right-of-ways through zoning. And there's one other which I don't have in front of me right now. So they did make that statement. You had in your staff report your comments, but Hamilton County Regional did make the statement. They're under the belief it doesn't belong in the zoning code.
Can I ask you a question, Carol? So you're against sidewalks?
This isn't sidewalks. I'm talking about the parking in the right-of-ways.
Okay, because you just made a comment about the sidewalks.
I'm saying, he said that the record of proceedings of the regional planning do not go into all the discussions at their hearing. However, there were three comments that were noted in the records of proceeding. One was that sidewalks don't belong in the zoning code. Two is that you can't regulate right-of-ways. And then the third one doesn't come to my head right now. Okay, that's what the sidewalk issue was.
And that may have been one of the members' opinions as to what he felt about that text amendment. I mean, there was a discussion among the 7 or 5 or 6 or however many planning commission members were at the meeting. They all had a discussion about
Okay,
the,
but you're
proposed
saying,
amendment.
you said in your staff report then that it may not be legally defensible through zoning. So why would you not, trustees, why would you not ask for a legal opinion to make sure that that is an acceptable location for this issue before you adopt it? The one thing that I really want to take issue on is your section 319 dealing with signage on your proposed text amendment.
Chair, the question.
I'm sorry.
319 only deals with variable.
Section
signage.
319 deals with signage,
Variable signage, right?
variable message signage.
Okay.
Okay. I was a little bit concerned because Hamilton County didn't have an issue with this. Brian Snyder didn't have an issue with this. Zoning Commission didn't even discuss it, even though I raised the question at 2 separate other public hearings. But I can't understand, I couldn't understand why you were including this. The new language provides for the installation of a variable message sign within residential districts that identify churches, nonprofit organizations, swim clubs, tennis clubs, schools, parks, golf courses, public buildings, and other similar permitted uses. And as we all know, at least we should know, these uses are not considered to be permitted. They are conditional uses, which are governed by zoning Article 35, which is conditional uses. When the township adopted zoning, the township followed the current Hamilton County zoning at that time, but we beefed up a couple sections. And one of the sections we beefed up was signage in order to control the aesthetics of problems that were within the township for signage. Your zoning code does have a conditional use section. in order to provide additional controls regarding non-residential uses within residential districts. These are permitted uses, and they all are the above group. They're the churches and the golf courses and the parks and the public buildings and everything. So any of these proposed changes, uses, must go before the Board of Zoning Appeals, which can either deny, allow, or allow with modifications. And one of the specific criteria that is considered as part of the application is signage. And there are no provisions for variable message signs in the conditional use section. Signage is only permitted to be either 12 square feet or 32 square feet based on the proposed application. This proposed text language now has this type of signage being allowed in our residential districts as a permitted use. But you still have it in the conditional use. So are you going to follow your new section that you're proposing, or are you going to follow the conditional use, which by state statute is permitted by Board of Zoning Appeals to hear? And it was concerning why the board would want to create a conflict, this conflict, which you are creating. And why you're allowing placements of these variable message signs within a residential district. I don't think I would want to have one of these signs next to my house lighting up the neighborhood. But yet you are going to permit these. If there's a church in near a residential district, good, it can have the variable message sign as long as permitted, as long as they follow your guidelines that you have set aside. And I was confused until I read the comments provided to the Zoning Commission from your township administrator, stating that the intent was to give governments the opportunity to install a message board at key locations in the community where we have buildings. And that this is the same language that is allowed for business communities in a retail zone, not a residential district, a retail zone. The board included this change to the zoning code as the board wishes to place variable message signs on township property. Think where all the township property is. A lot of it's near residential areas or in residential areas. So I couldn't help but wonder why you're going to act this language to allow this as a right for signage.
The way, just if I may.
No,
Madam
I'm
Chairman.
waiting for them to finish so I can finish mine.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was going to answer that question. But
So you have the right to go through the same process as the residents have to do, to ask for a variance, conditional use approval, whatever you want to call it. So you don't, to me, it seems like you don't want to follow your own code. You want to set up your own little section that permits you to put variable message signs on township buildings and property. But at the same time you're doing that, you're allowing churches and sports clubs and all that other people to do the same thing, instead of making them go through the conditional use process by the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's just wrong. There's no way this should ever be done. You want us to follow the code, but from this action, it looks to me like you don't intend to follow the code. So you might want to consider actually having that within this text amendment. I do have a question regarding the process, because this zone amendment was initiated by the trustees, which is permitted. And if it's initiated by the board, upon the passage of the resolution, it gets certified to the zoning commission. And I'm not sure that date when it was certified. It was passed by June 2nd. Not sure when it was certified to the zoning commission. And upon certification of that, a public hearing by the zoning commission shall be held not less than 20 days, nor more than 40 days from certification of that resolution. So let's just say that that was followed, okay? Within 5 days of the certification, the zoning commission must transmit a copy together with the applicable text to the regional planning commission, which is required to recommend approval or denial, and then submit that to the zoning commission. Within 30 days after that, the public hearing, the zoning commission holds a public hearing and recommends approval or denial of the proposed amendment. And they submit it with all the paperwork to the Board of Trustees. And upon a receipt of the recommendation, the trustees set a time for the public hearing. The date for the public hearing shall not be more than 30 days from the date of the receipt of the recommendation from the zoning commission. Is that correct? You probably don't have a text, you don't have the zoning code in front of you, or the,
No, I don't have it. in front of me.
but trust me, it's section 5, I think it's 51912. So, and then within 20 days after the public hearing, the trustees shall neither adopt or deny the recommendations. And the amendment is as adopted by the trustees becomes effective 30 days from that date, unless there's a referendum filed. Okay. So if the text amendment was initiated on June 2nd, and the first public hearing was on July 15, like I said, did that meet the more than 30 days from date of certification requirement? Don't know, because I wasn't sure when it was certified. Hamilton County heard the case on July 2nd. And again, not knowing the date, it's a little bit hazy. However, we do know that the zoning commission made its decision on September 16th, and that a letter from Janet Grant, who I think is the recording secretary, was transmitted to the board on September 23rd with the commission's recommendation. So we do know that the township received this recommendation on September 23rd. So to me, 30 days from that date would be that the hearing needed to be heard on or before October 31st. It's now November 3rd, which is about 10 to 11 days past that requirement. So can the board actually legally move forward with these text amendments because they have not met the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code?
Well, when the decision of the zoning commission became final, the day that they approved the minutes at their October zoning commission meeting, that's well within the 30 days.
No,
from now.
there was a letter sent to the board saying this is the action taken by the Board of Trustees, and based on that, a public hearing was scheduled. This has nothing to do with approval of the minutes. So,
Okay.
can they legally move forward with this even though they have not met the requirements of the 30 days?
I cannot answer your question because I haven't had the chance to look at any of the material you just said. However, as Mr. Snyder just said, it is relevant when the minutes were approved because that's the actual formal adoption of that. I don't know what letter you're talking about, so I can't speak to it.
I'm sure the trustees can have.
But I can tell you
Provided
that
to you.
every step of this has happened in the proper due course. There's been no undue delay. So I can tell you that it's before the board. And if the board is asking me the question, I will tell them, you can definitely proceed with this tonight.
Okay, that's fine. This legislation is subject to a referendum. And if you do adopt this resolution tonight, I am requesting that a certified copy be made available to us for tomorrow for pickup. We need that certified copy. Okay? Okay.
Do you want me to clarify something about the signage section that she mentioned?
Sure.
This did come up at the zoning commission meeting. So it's my understanding that, and this is the way that I would administer it unless I'm told differently, the conditional use chapter is the only way that you as a government, church, school can build a sign because that structure requires conditional use approval. Right now, if you're a school or a church and you want to do a variable message sign, not only does the Board of Zoning Appeals have to grant you the conditional use to build a sign, but they also have to grant you a variance to allow you to have a variable message sign in a residential district because they're not allowed. So the way that it reads says that residential signs can have 25% of their sign as a variable message center. But I don't believe that it just straight permits any residential use from having a variable message center. I think they would still require conditional use approval to allow them to have a sign, period. Now, if they have a 32 square foot sign and they wanted to replace 25% of it with a variable message sign, that I think we would allow without a conditional use approval, but they would already have to have the conditional use approval for the sign, period. And then there are lighting restrictions in the code currently that would prevent the sign from illuminating adjacent properties because they don't apply specifically to freestanding lights or signage lights. They just say light levels, period, at the property line. So I don't know that it's that much of a difference, other than if you've already gotten a conditional use that will allow you to have a sign, the 25% of it, 25% of 32 square feet, which is whatever that is, 6 square feet or whatever it is. That's the maximum size that you would be allowed to have as a variable message sign, and you would have to meet the lighting requirements of the code.
Description is correct. Okay. Oh my gosh, she's like-
I did, actually, just now while you were speaking.
Just wait.
It's right there, right on the screen. It's actually right on the screen right now.
Any other questions? Comments?
Let me see if there's anybody online.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Do we have anybody?
No.
Okay. So I guess we're going to move. Do I need to move to close?
Yes.
Okay, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call. Aye.
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 I move approval of disbursements warrant numbers 78477-78651 in the amount of $1,232,264.17.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Reports, Law Director,
Thank you. No report tonight.
Police,
Nothing tonight. Thanks.
thank you. Fire,
Nothing tonight.
thank you. Director of Public Works, Bill's not with
None.
us. Committees, Kim, anything?
None.
Other? All right, correspondence, see attached hearing for residents. This is a chance that if anybody has a concern that they would like to address with us, please come on up and give us your name and your address.
Good evening, I'm Richard Goldberg. I live at 8354 Jeanette Lane. I've lived here for about 29 years now. We've happily raised our family here, and I only have good things to say about Symmes Township. The reason I came tonight, I just wanted to put something on the record regarding an issue of the parking situation at the Silver Spring House, where I live very close by. Over the last several months in particular, in the warmer weather, the parking has been really intolerable there in their parking lot. Cars were parking along Snyder Road, and I've counted 8 or more cars parked in the grass illegally. Now, that has subsided now, maybe because there are campaign signs up there that are blocking cars, but that's a dangerous situation. And something, when the campaign signs come down, I hope they don't resume parking there, because it's a safety issue. I also live, my backyard kind of fronts up against the Lucky office condos in that parking lot. And recently, our zoning commission approved by a 3-2 vote on the expansion of the Silver Spring House, a 3,100-foot permanent addition to their structure. It's my understanding, and Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Silver Spring House cannot use the parking lot of the Lucky office condos. Am I right about that? And I've complained to Brian very recently because they have been using it, not so much in recent days, maybe because business has slowed down a little due to the weather, but all through the warm months, there were days where cars were parked in that lot, the Lucky office condos on Camp Road to the east of Silver Spring House, all the way down to the easternmost condo there. I look out my back window upstairs, and it's a sea of cars sometimes. And I've come to learn that that's not permissible under the zoning, as well as there was a lawsuit when that property was rezoned to 00 zoning to begin with. So it's an aesthetic problem, and I think that's also a safety problem. And that, because the Silver Spring House mainly is a family restaurant, but they've got a liquor license, and the expansion that they have been approved for is going to add another large bar. That's another safety issue if they're going to continue to park where they're not supposed to park in the Lucky parking lot there. At the recent zoning commission hearing, Silver Spring House claimed they had a gentleman's agreement that they were allowed to park in this area. I don't know what gentleman they were talking about. That rezoning was done about 8 years ago through this township. This township, the trustees actually denied the zone change from residential to 00, and Lucky appealed, and we reached a settlement. I was a party to that lawsuit as well. We reached a settlement to have the 00 zoning approved. So they shouldn't be parking there. I just want the record to show that, I've made the complaint to Mr. Snyder. I hope that he follows up on it, and I hope the township enforces any violations. I'm concerned. Especially when the expansion's completed, I understand there's going to be about a 65% increase in occupancy. I think that there's going to be an increase in that, so there's going to be more cars that need someplace to park. Apparently, the lot meets the parking requirements, and I can't argue with that because Mr. Snyder's the expert on that. I'm not, but it seems like they were jammed up before. They're only apt to be further jammed up if once the new construction's completed and the warmer weather comes. Plus, we're in COVID now, where the numbers are down. After post-COVID, the numbers are going to be higher as well. I'm concerned that parking has gotten out of hand at the Silver Spring House, and it'll get worse in the next several months.
Okay. I have a quick question about the parking on like where the grassy area is. How do we handle that?
So that's a county road, so I would think that Bill Pittman and the county engineer would need to post that, no parking. I know that Silver Spring House also recently posted it, no parking, but they put the signs in the right of way. I know I told them they weren't allowed to have them there. They were talking about moving them back to the berm, but they can't enforce parking in the right of way. Only the township and the engineer can regulate parking, and then it would be up to the sheriff's office to enforce the no parking requirement.
So we need to talk to the engineer to put signs up there. Is that what I'm hearing?
I believe, and not like Bill.
The
Bill would
signs
know
are
more,
already
right?
up.
Oh,
They
the
already
signs
put up
are
no
the
parking
There are
signs.
Oh, okay.
Well, they put those up though. Silver Spring House did. I don't know if that's good enough for the county to enforce. Like I said, I would think that somebody from the county engineer would be able to help.
I don't mind the signs, but my concern is
But you don't want them parking there.
right. Once the
Right, so-
campaign signs come down, it's going to open up. I mean, you can hold about 10 cars there.
Yeah, so what I think we're trying to do is put signs there so they
Mhm.
can't park there. So we can enforce that.
And I'd like the enforcement also to run eastward, so they don't, I mean, it looks like a car dealership some nights during the summer. It's a sea of cars on Kemper Road. And, the concern is, yes, it's a family restaurant, but they've got a liquor license, and there might be impaired drivers coming out of there at night. It gets noisy sometimes at night. when the hours expand post-COVID, when the attendance expands post-COVID, we could have a problem. And I just want,
So-
I spoke at the zoning commission in opposition to the expansion for these very reasons.
Okay. Brian?
So we did
Yes,
receive a complaint, and Kim and I both received it, and I did talk to the zoning inspector, and we've started trying to document. We've gotten the hours of operation off all the offices that are out there, and then she's visited the site after all the offices were closed. The day that she was there, she didn't see any cars parked in those spaces, but she's aware that there's a complaint, so she's going to be enforcing or inspecting it regularly.
Thank you. That tends to happen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And
Right.
again, it's lessened now, maybe because of the cold weather.
She was there on a Saturday. We understand when the peak period is. Well,
My question is one of clarification.
Mhm.
I understand that there's, let's call it parking enforcement issues that are a separate issue, but my question has to do with, there's a tent there now, right?
Mhm.
And they're talking about enclosing space, same square footage and so on. And we're not members of the zoning board or
Right.
BZA. So this is just from my own understanding. I don't understand why that would increase capacity if they just enclosed it.
Oh, I got that from the zoning commission hearing where it was said, I heard the number is 65%.
Well, that's why I want to ask him,
Okay.
is that a fact? It's going to increase capacity?
yes, they are adding 3,100 square feet of enclosed indoor space. They may be taking the place where the tent is currently, but the only reason the tent is there is because of COVID. They're not allowed to have everybody inside.
Right.
So
Okay.
what he's saying is correct. And when COVID is post-COVID, hopefully when we
Okay,
get
now-
there will be an increased capacity, yes.
As part of the development plan for anything like that, don't they have to have so many car spaces for occupancy?
They do, they met the parking requirement of the zoning
Even
resolution.
with the increased
Yes,
capacity?
and without the CHCA spaces and the Lucky spaces.
Without CHCA, without Snyder Road, without Lucky, they meet the requirements?
Yes, that's correct.
If it meets
How?
the minimum requirement, then why are they parking cars on Snyder Road?
Yeah.
Why are they going all the way eastward to the
That's my
left?
confusion too.
I don't
Okay.
know. I mean, just because it's minimum requirements doesn't mean it's right. I mean, if they
Wait.
meet the minimum requirements, it's one thing, but it's still a safety issue and an aesthetic issue.
Because when
Wait.
I go there, I mean, it's party at 6, I go myself when we all meet there. That's 6 of us,
Right.
6 cars.
Right.
And we're not, we come from work.
And the parking requirement is one
So I guess-
space for every
I
4
guess
occupants.
There's a formula,
100,
right?
right?
So many
One for every
seats in
100.
an establishment requires so many parking places.
It's one for every 4 seats or 1 to 100 square feet, whichever is more.
Okay.
I just want to be on record. I'd hate to see something happen, especially cars whiz down Kemper and they whiz up and down Snyder as well. And like I said, some of these drivers may be impaired. There are a lot of bicyclists out in the warm weather. And this is a 5-month construction, I understand. It'll be done in the springtime, I assume, hopefully post-COVID or somewhat post-COVID. And it could be an issue next season, next year. And
Not parking that lot that you're talking about. So you're not supposed to park in that lot?
I don't know how that can be enforced, though.
It's difficult, but
Is it posted?
we can.
Is it posted? I'm not
I
sure.
mean, can you post it or should it be posted?
No, we can't post it. The township can't post it. It's just, the person who's going to be in violation is the owner of the
Okay,
Silver
but as
Spring
part
House.
of their settlement, out of court settlement or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if it's part of the
there's some-
settlement or
some
not.
Agreement here.
Right, like I wasn't involved in that settlement. I know what the township trustees passed, and I just know that the zoning resolution doesn't allow for retail or restaurant parking in an office zoning district. So it's just not allowed. Whether it's in the settlement or not doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The office zoning district doesn't allow the retail parking.
I agree. I mean, it's double O zoning, and if it doesn't permit it, it doesn't permit it.
Right.
All right.
I appreciate you hearing me out on this, and I just hope that the township's willing to enforce it as much as practically able to do so we don't have a tragedy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
CJ Carr, 10403 Willow. A couple of questions to start with. How much was our expense in updating or upgrading our website?
Kim? Couple $100 maybe? I'm sorry, couple $100 maybe?
Oh, just a couple hundred.
For what?
For upgrading our website? Township, oh, I thought, oh, I couldn't hear where I was coming from.
I was asking
What-
for what?
Back during the land use
I
maps,
recall that size capacity for storage of the maps and so on.
it was going to be thousands of dollars
That's what I
to
thought.
upgrade the website. And now it's cost us a couple $100
That's what I was told.
to upgrade the
For
website.
what? Capacity? We're gonna be
Yeah.
able to put the county
Yeah.
maps on our website for a couple $100?
I think we already did.
Yeah, under
Already
the,
there.
No, isn't that expensive?
Jim? Are the county
What?
maps and so on, capacity and so on our website now?
They are, but they're at a reduced PDF. They're not the big, large data maps like what's on Brian's website.
And we don't have the capacity for that.
Well, it's not necessarily the capacity, it's just we increased our speed, which cost us more than a couple $100. And then we increased the capacity to hold the map. We went from, I think it was 10 megabits to 50 megabits, and it cost us an additional $50 a month, I think, to do that. But, we have 3 maps on our website, but they're at a reduced,
Okay. All right. Does that satisfy your answer?
image.
what I'm getting at is, it is now on the website that the trustees passed the land use map in last month's meeting. Clicking on that is when I found, okay, the maps are on there, which is something we couldn't do before. We had to go to the county website and click this box and click that
Okay.
box to find out where the maps were at. Whether they're big or little or whatever, we can view them on the website now. Made it quite confusing when we were going through the land use changes on that map where to find it at. After the meeting of the land use meeting, this went up on the website that you can get to this, go review it, look at the changes that were made and so on and so forth. They've posted the north section, south section, and middle section of the township. And there's also a bar to push or click to get the parcel list that we talked about at the meeting. Well, when you go to the parcel list, since the day after the public hearing, the parcel list is not available on the website. It's an untitled blank page. And when you go to the county website and click through that way to get to the maps, it comes up with 181 parcels instead of the 263 that was up. So we've got on our website, it says to review all these documents and these maps, go to this, and they're not still accessible or up to date, what's on the website even following the meeting.
Okay. Has that been communicated to our township administrator? Or are you just bringing it up tonight?
The one part I'm bringing up now, that's why I didn't know when we upgraded and so on and so forth. See the parcel information.
So here's the post. It was posted on October 8th. There's the northern section, the middle section, the southern section, and the parcel information. So it lost the link for whatever reason, so we just have to
Okay.
relink it.
And if you go to the county website still has the 181 parcels, which went up to 260 some when it was all finalized out. So, the information between, you can't find it and it's not up to date.
All right, we'll see what we can do about getting that fixed.
And that kind of leads into tonight, where I came up and all these changes have been made. And everything on the website now that we look at shows the zoning commission, the regional planning suggestions or things for tonight's meeting. And all these changes and everything are all new. So we kind of get here tonight we're wasting everybody's time for coming out here, talking about the general maintenance code, gravel driveways, this issue and that issue that is not even any longer part of what you guys are discussing this evening.
It's both, here it is, CJ, it's right here. So if you click
Thank you.
here,
Thank you
here's
very
here's the
much.
changes to the zoning commission, what the zoning commission, so everything that was in the
Okay.
slide was included in my slides that I had.
Just for instance, right there, 51.5 that you had on there has fence. Nothing about the wall.
Right, well, I added the wall, or we talked about adding the wall because I think the discussion came up from zoning commission because somebody suggested they go to. Somebody suggested, I think at one of the meetings, that the sections be combined, and I probably, in my mind, did that.
It was just
So-
confusing looking at it tonight because we know that
It's confusing.
Hamilton County and the zoning commission said to strike this stuff. But we also know that the original resolution had all this stuff in it. So we show up tonight as to, are we
And she
looking
has
at
it.
what's in, I've got it all too.
Okay, so
Right,
here,
I've got it all
I
too.
made it very clear on the website. It says the text language is available for review here. You click here, you get the language that we initiated on June 2nd.
Correct. That's
Then
the
it says the
resolution.
zoning commission voted to approve the proposed text amendments with changes on September 16th. To review the recommendations provided by the zoning commission, click here.
Okay.
2 documents. Both documents are being considered by the trustees and will be discussed at the public hearing. It says it right there on the website. So I made it very clear that both documents would be discussed.
But they weren't.
Yes, they were.
Because by the time we came in, the general maintenance code section was pretty much deleted.
That was part of the discussion.
We're allowed to have
When you,
discussions,
right, when you
CJ.
guys
We're
started, but
allowed
I
to
mean,
have
showing up
discussion.
tonight, the information we had in front of us showed your resolution from June,
Mhm.
and it showed the paperwork
Right.
back from.
That you're
the county.
describing the actual progression of this
Right,
subject.
but showing up tonight, we're looking at 2 documents and we're assuming we're gonna come up with something.
That's what we
not-
did.
He's allowed
Right.
to add his comment. So he read the documents, and he wanted to change them.
In the meeting here, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Well, that's what we're here for, to discuss the documents and make,
Right.
amendments. So, I mean, I don't know what you want us to do. Do you want us to put?
I'm not asking you to do anything.
Okay,
What I'm saying is,
Because you're
it's just-
assuming that we're wasting everybody's time, but we're not trying to waste everybody's time because there was an original document and then there was a modified document, and Phil had a couple changes that he wanted.
okay,
So why do you think he's going to have his own section on the website with his modifications? Or is that something that we can discuss here in a discussion tonight?
Okay, so when was the portion of, just for instance, it was a hot topic, removing the general maintenance code? When was that discussed this evening to remove it in that section?
The commission, the
That was zoning. Zoning
Okay.
commission struck it.
And that's why I say zoning.
That's shown struck.
There was an original resolution that had it. Zoning took it out. But then tonight at the meeting, it can be a combination of both of these. That's what I'm saying. But when we show up, we've already had a,
But it was stricken
presentation.
by the zoning commission and none of us disagreed with that.
Okay.
So we didn't need to have a conversation about it
okay.
because we agreed with zoning.
Okay.
So are we supposed to go back and have a discussion, everything that the zoning
No,
was
we
not
fig-
interested in that?
We
already
figured that out
agreed
this
with it,
evening when
so
we
didn't
got
bring
here.
it up.
Right, we figured that out this evening when we got here. Okay.
We were only going over what they were going to go over, and that was on the agenda for the year. This is what they were going over, they weren't gonna do anything else.
Also, just to, I heard about the minutes from the zoning commission being
Hey,
approved in
CJ, I think
October.
we already closed this text amendment meeting, right?
Right, I just bring it
Okay,
up with
so
the
it's already
website information.
closed.
Right, right,
Okay, so any further discussion, we already did it.
okay.
Okay,
So what I was saying is, it was brought up as discussion, and this is coming on later in the meeting, resolution 2020-92.
right, but the text amendments discussion's already closed.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
The text
all
amendment
right, so we don't
discussion
need to
is
talk
closed.
about it anymore. because it's
Okay.
closed.
I understand that. Okay, but you're getting ready to vote on a resolution in new business. Okay, as part of that resolution, it was brought up during the meeting about the Ohio Revised Code, this letter, the dates and everything else. I requested a copy of the certified document that went from the zoning commission to the township trustees. I received that from the township administrator and it was dated September 23rd. So when you guys vote on this tonight, it was certified September 23rd. Ohio Revised Code says 30 days. Tonight is beyond the 30-day deadline for
All
the
right,
next
I
step.
think our law director already made a comment
He
on
did,
that.
he didn't know, and that's why, I mean, if he wants to see the revised code, I got
Do you
a copy
need
of
to
the
make an
section right
additional
here.
comment?
I don't need to see anything else. I've already said that the board has the authority to act on this tonight.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you. So we're moving on from hearing from residents. Events, Finance Committee meeting is Thursday, November 5th, 2020 at 6 PM, and that's going to be a Zoom meeting. Thanksgiving holiday, the building will be closed Thursday, November 26th and Friday, November 27th. Operation Santa is December 5th, 2020, beginning at 5 PM. And right now, we're currently working on how we're going to be socially distanced. We are going to have Operation Santa because it's a very fun event for our kids and our family in the community. And we are going to make sure that we're COVID conscious. Okay, so Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is Monday, December 7th, 2020 at 7 PM in the Safety Service Center. Regular trustees meeting is Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 7 PM at the Safety Center. Old business, we have none. New business, I move to authorize the administrator to advertise for the Union Cemetery Sidewalk Project.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan,
Aye.
Aye.
Can we back up the discussion for a moment?
Sure.
Do we have all the plans in and so on as to what right of ways and so on needs to be purchased before we do that project?
Yes, the plans were included in the packet.
Okay. Then aye.
Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, moving on. Let's see. I move approval of Resolution G 2020, resolution authorizing and directing the township administrator to sign an acceptance execution for a permanent sidewalk easement, storm sewer easement, and temporary right-of-way of entry and construction easement agreement for the Union Cemetery Sidewalk Project.
Second.
Second, it's G 2020-90,
I'm sorry, did I miss that?
just the 90.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Discussion? Approval? I mean, roll call?
Mr. Bryan,
Aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye. I move approval of Resolution G 2020-91, resolution authorizing the township administrator to enter into agreement with Skeet Humphrey Construction LLC in the amount of $39,518.72 to replace a bathroom door and locks at Stonebridge Mead and Home of the Brave with new electric strike doors.
Second.
Discussion?
Is this under the CARES Act?
Yes,
Yes.
part of it, yeah. We use park funds on the Rossi property and then CARES Act on the other part.
Okay, what about Seven Gables?
Seven Gables we're already doing right now.
Okay.
Okay, is that it? Roll call?
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan.
Aye.
Okay, I think with the next, I'm going to ask for it to be tabled because I think we had a question about description of the sign, the VMS signs, if that language was correct. And we want to also make sure that the limited off-street parking, if that's correct. So I'm going to ask to table Resolution G 2020-92, resolution authorizing to accept a text amendment in Section 51 General Provisions, Section 62, 66, 70, 74, 78, 82 Residential District, Section 143 Residential Parking, Section 171 Additional Use, Height and Regulation and Acceptance, Section 191 Zoning Certificate Sections, 3319 signs in residential districts, Section 342, accessory uses and structures, and Section 346, fences and walls of Symmes Township zoning resolution and dispensing with a second reading.
Second, the table.
I
The
second-
table.
Second the table.
Okay.
Discussion.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to comment that the process of public hearings is to hear from the public. And that's what we did tonight, and that's what we got an earful of, and we need to take those items under consideration.
Yeah, and we just want to make sure that we're right.
Okay?
That's it.
Question, what exactly are you wanting us to come back with?
Well, I think there were a number of questions that were raised, and I'd like to dot the i's and cross the t's.
I think Brian answered all the questions.
The first one was the law director to review the ORC, make sure it ensures that the public street restrictions for parking are allowed. The second one is verifying the VMS description, making sure that is correct.
I
In the
think
district.
those were issues that were brought up under ORC. We can only do that which the state allows us to do. So there has to be an ORC to allow us to do it.
Right, section 519 says we can adopt zoning regulation and as Brian said, there's not
I guess what I'm asking
specific.
for is a legal opinion of the questions that were raised tonight.
So what was the second thing you said, Phil? Because I
The
didn't
variable
hear it.
message signage description for the specified districts.
Anything else? Kim, do you have any questions?
No.
You understand?
The vote.
Yeah, okay. Roll call.
Mr. Bryan?
Aye. The table.
Mr. Beck?
Aye.
Aye. I move approval of Resolution G 2020-93, resolution declaring salaries for the first responders and park employees a valid and encumbered expense for the CARE Act. Coronavirus Relief Fund pursuant to HB 481/614.
Second.
Roll call? Discussion? No. Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I move approval of Resolution G 2020-94, resolution approving expenditures in the amount not to exceed $15,026.70 for mobile hot steam disinfecting and cleaning pressure washer through Enzo Cleaning Solution and dispensing with a second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Aye.
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 I move approval of the following expenditures and authorizing for the township administrator to sign any necessary contracts, agreements, or paperwork. A, amendment, increase 7-A-1 from 127,000 to 166,100, the lighting district. B, amendment, increase 14-A-10D for $309,874 to $309,875. C, amend increase 14A-04B from $14,874 to $14,875. Transfer D, $1 from 14A-10D to 14A-04B interest. E, expenditure then and now, $4,478.52, Duke Energy for lighting district bills. F, expenditure then and now, $1 Huntington Bank. G, expenditure $6,471.90 for pro dryers for touchless faucets in the park bathroom. That's through the CARES Act.
Second.
Discussion?
Now, item C, why do we have to put this on a special expenditure then and now for Duke Energy for lighting bills? We have a fund set up for lighting
Because we
bills?
did not have enough money appropriated in that account.
Okay,
So that's why you have the first one to increase it from 127 to 166. So we had to pay the bill,
then and
so
now,
as a then and now.
okay.
All right. Discussion? Okay, roll call?
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan.
Aye.
Okay, this is the last call for hearing from residents. Do we have, do we have anybody on Zoom that wants to speak, Kim, or anything?
No, it's a 0.
Okay, that's great. Carol?
Yep, Carol Symmes, 9972 Washington. It would be very nice if the board would put this revised proposed new text amendments on the website without underlines and crossouts and everything, so that if people are wanting to see what is being actually proposed for adoption by the board, it's actually on the website in a clean form that we can look at, so that when we come here next month, we know exactly if we need to make any comments or if everything is okay.
Thank you.
Okay. There's two schools of opinion, Carol. One is people like to know what was and show what the changes are. So
We
it's,
already have on the website what you initiated. We have on the website what the zoning commission has made recommendation. So why can't you have one now that's a clean copy of what's being considered with all the changes that were discussed tonight? That's
Okay.
all we're
Well,
asking
Just so
for.
you know, we did have someone call and it said it was confusing because the more things you put out, the more people get confused, Carol. So we're doing the best we can and we're trying to make everybody happy. Okay, anyone else? All right.
Could I ask the lady who had the copies, did you have trouble with the strikeouts and the add-ins? Was it understandable for you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there's no executive session, so I move to adjourn.
second.
Roll call.
Ms. Lees,
Aye.
Mr. Bryan,
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Polls are closed.